This is the 14th.
Yes.
14th Armadacon.
I mean, there wasn't one once?
Yes, the first one there wasn't one.
Oh, fair enough. Just thought I'd ask just in case.
There has been one. Everybody knows the rules, so we'll carry on. We read terrible books. You give us money, or rather you give charity. This is Bundiki and Dawn by J.T. Edson.
By birth, not to.
How much?
Not to.
Another 20p not to. I can't stand footnotes.
Pound to actually hear it.
I'll take the pound.
I'll send you my physician's bill.
I have made an executive decision. I take the pound.
Do you want to footnotes in?
Yes.
Of course.
Isn't that extra?
By birth and upbringing, even more than the Bundiki, Dawn was ideally suited to the primitive environment of Cilicia, and the part she was playing in their quest for food. Although she was not directly descended from Lord Greystoke, being unable to care for his younger brother adequately after the death of their parent, Captain Hugh Bulldog Drummond, QV, accepted Lord and Lady Greystoke's suggestion that they adopt John. As a result, the boy became known as Drummond Clayton, the latter being the Greystokes' family name. Back to the story. Her parental grandparents, Sir John and Lady Miriam Drummond Clayton, had acquired a knowledge of jungle survival second only to his. Footnotes. How this came about is told in The Son of Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. However, at Lord Greystoke's request, ERB did not reveal John Drummond Clayton's true identity in this book.
Well, that was bloody well planned.
Permission now having been granted, the situation has been clarified by fictionist genealogist Philip Jose Farmer in his biographical work Tarzan Alive. Back to the story.
40p
But not
just to
for
read the
long.
footnotes.
No, we're going to have more money for just the footnotes.
So that's 60p just for the footnotes.
No, I want at least a minimum of £1 for just the footnotes.
I want a
Pound is the
pound.
name of
You
your
don't have to
physician.
wait for long for another footnote.
That's £1.10 for just the footnotes.
It was bad. We have £1
Oh, it
for
gets
just
worse.
the footnotes. If you want to hear
Pound is
the
the name for his physician.
if you want to hear the story, you're going to have to pay up, guys.
No, we want a pound to just
Full story.
Yeah, well.
That's another 50 pages in, isn't it?
Where are we at the moment?
£1.10 for the footnotes.
Yep,
That's a yes, we're just going to
go for it.
Footnotes. Who wants to pay for the footnotes? You got too much money.
Okay, footnote 2.
Anybody
Not
else?
more, I haven't.
The history of Captain Hugh Bulldog Drummond is recorded in the books of H.C. Sapper Melville and Gerard Bailey. They were instructed to avoid making any references to the captain's younger brother, so that his enemies would not learn of the boy's whereabouts. Next footnote. Although Armand John Drummond Clayton and his wife had served in the same resistance group as Miss Amelia Blenkinsop, MABSC Oxon Honours,
Where does she live?
member of HOGA, the Holloway Old Girls Association. Some of whose exploits are recorded in The Blonde Genius by J.T. Edson. Their family background
I've
does
never
not
been able to
make
get hold of
footnotes
that, so if anyone
page
can, I'd be really grateful.
with the specialised requirements for Dawn to attend Blenkinsop's Academy for the Daughters of Gentlefolk.
Was the author really taking the piss when he wrote this, or what?
I think
Well,
he was being paid by the word.
next footnote.
What's the reference line next year?
Kopje, a small hill from Afrikaans word meaning a peak.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Made it all
Is
work.
that a
Well,
peak
hold
as
on
in
now.
mountain or peak as in small rat-like dog?
Peak is in small hill,
Ah,
I think.
thank you.
Peak as in spit on.
Yes. Next footnote.
Peak fruit.
Esmeralda Morland, Lady Greystoke's negress maid, who also acted as Dawn's nurse. Next footnote. Tar Numa, Mayani name, Tar White Numa Lion. The lioness is Sabo, the differing appearances of the male and female of the species Pantherus leo leo being so obvious that each could be given his own name.
Time to stop. Time to stop.
John Carstairs, Space Detective. Written by Frank Belknap Long, the inventor of the Hounds of Tindalos, a man who ended up in the Science Fiction Hall of Fame for his
Patheticness?
no, his contribution to science fiction.
What, none.
This wasn't it.
No, but this was not it.
He went round and stopped H.P. Lovecraft writing something.
That's not necessarily a good thing considering this book. Get a better sci-fi book by playing Scrabble.
But it wouldn't be as funny.
Oh yes it would.
Right. This is the first story in this collection called Plants Must Grow.
Why must they?
That's what they do. This involves John Carstairs, who's a part-time detective and curator of the Botanical Museum, and Maguire, the plodding police inspector.
10p for a little more volume, please.
Sorry. Maguire swallowed. Slowly his embittered Irish features dimmed. When Carstairs hung up, his face was flushed and his eyes were shining. He wasn't bored anymore. He began pacing the file room, his hands thrust deep into the pockets of his Rubbertex horticulture smock. His slightly gaunt but handsome face seemed almost boyish now. The look of mingled anxiety and eagerness in his gaze did something to Vera Dorn. Her expression softened. A few minutes later, the audio visiphone on the desk started clicking. Almost savagely, Carstairs swung round about and uncradled the receiver. On the little round screen, the inspector's face stared at him accusingly. Your hunch turned out pat, he growled. They were hiding over in an auto-gyro garage on the East 34th Street, 3rd level Manhattan. Carstairs, I'm not as cold-blooded as you scientific fellows. I don't think a vicious killer plant is worth the lives of two men. They weren't murderers. All they did was steal a vicious plant that should never have been uprooted in the first place. Two? Carstairs gasped. Seabrook says that 3 men broke into. My count is 2, said Maguire. Maybe the 3rd guy ducked or something. How badly were they burnt, Inspector? You want to gloat over details, do you? No, skip it. All I want is the address of that garage. Tell your men to keep their distance until I can get over there with a can of ether. Maguire's face got tight and hard. You'll have to find your blasted plant before you can give it rosy dreams. Find it? Echoed Carstairs, horrified. That's what I said. It's loose, somewhere in the city, Mr. Curator. Your vicious killer plant loose in a city of 20 million people who are not criminals. Carstairs' jaw muscles twitched. Inspector, there's something I should have told you.
It can drive.
We've been keeping that plant stunted by feeding it ore containing more than 40% graphite. On Uranus, diamond plants reach a height of 400 feet.
Should be easy to find it.
Maguire's jaw fell open. On Uranus, they grow hundreds of tentacles. But that's not what I'm afraid of. Continued Carstairs relentlessly. On Uranus, they sometimes explode. one diamond plant could blow the 3rd level clear into space.
Dun, dun, dun.
But it couldn't grow overnight, Maguire pleaded. Hopefully. It could, it does, if it gets pure carbon. You've got to find it before then.
What about the coal bunkers?
The 3rd level is honeycombed with graphite lubricating plants, the inspector muttered.
Is it?
You'd better throw out a dragnet. Put your entire force on it. Sound a general alarm. If that plant rebeds itself in the sluices and feasts for 8 hours, New York will be a 2-level town. It can scent carbon 10 miles away. Maguire nodded grimly. I'll do what I can. If the 3rd level goes, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, Mr. Carstairs.
No, he's got exploding plant on his ankle.
How to stop?
To worry about. What?
How to stop?
Oh, you spoil sport.
150 to carry on.
Destroyed New York ought to get a promotion.
Yeah, another 40p just to carry on, so that's 190 to carry on so far.
Okay. That's cool. I need change.
Because I'm enjoying this.
How much do you need?
When Carstairs swung up, he looked so ill that Vera Dawn became alarmed. Steady, darling! Sorry, steady,
That's
darling!
much easier.
She's a mouse.
Right, who else?
She looks like Minnie Mouse.
So she'd be on the helium.
It takes 20 hours for that plant to grow to its full height. I know, but how can it get into a lubricating plant? All the power stations are heavily guarded.
But lubricated.
That's why I didn't warn Maguire straight off, Carstairs said. I didn't realize that East 34th Street is a dark, cluttered maze of alleyways and gyro parking lots. It may take them hours to locate that plant, and meanwhile, Vera, if you were starving, would you let a guard stand in your way?
Yeah.
But you're talking about a plant. An intelligent plant. That's another thing I didn't tell Maguire.
Detective, client relationship.
Keeps his job after this one.
The audio visiphone starts clicking again. This time the inspector blurred his sentences like a man who had to tell about a nightmare. Drink his coffee, catch a train, all within 2 minutes. It's in a lubricating plant, Mr. Curator, entrenched in the sluices behind the biggest power turbine in Manhattan. Yeah, the East River Twister. Now what do we do?
Boom.
Has anyone been injured? No, just killed. 5 employees of the plant. That's the lubricating plant. I just thought I'd tell you that because it could get confusing.
50p is the apology because I have to go now.
That vicious plant has only 20 tentacles left now. But I think it means to grow more. Can you say the 3rd level, Mr. Curator? How's your bag of tricks this evening? Maguire's voice quavered hysterically. It seemed shocking somehow, considering that he was supposed to be a hard-boiled police officer. Carstairs' face grew whiter, but there was a cold determination to his eyes. I'll take care of it, Inspector, he promised, and hung up. Although Carstairs was reluctant to waste a single second, he had no intention of rushing blindly into danger. Vera Dawn's advice, he decided, was easily worth a minute of his time in any emergency, and this one was a calamity. Pushing her typewriter to one side, he parked himself on her desk and fumbled in his vest for a cigarette. All we have are scattered notes, he said. We can't check on it as though it were a problem in ballistics. None of our field men ever saw a diamond plant in bloom. But from a dozen observations, all made on Uranus by pitchblende miners who thought our boys were Tiki in the cocoa, we know that there are times when... Vera nodded, caught at his words. You don't have to tell me. I've memorized those notes from Agassiz to Zwolle. Our runaway plant isn't just a physical menace. The miners say it. months when it moves out of the uranium badlands to roam about grazing on pure carbon. Are you afraid it will reproduce itself?
You clearly are having Minnie Mouse in your character.
Carstairs shook his head. All we have are the babblings of two miners who went insane and had to be put in straitjackets. But it doesn't seem to reproduce by budding. The miners babbled that it threw buds at them, remember? They kept insisting the buds made them feel like plants, fastening on their heads. Emotions like that are stuck in train of unbalanced minds, she objected. The miners probably cracked up from the strain and nearly imagined it.
50p to stop.
Does anyone want to tweet elsewhere for fanfic consequences
Right.
while you're all having fun?
We got 50p to stop here.
The line. The atom chasers in Tibet.
Oh, not again.
Oh no!
Am I reading from where you put the little red line?
Probably for the death of
I think so.
Another one.
To open the proceedings, Lobsang addressed his followers in a voice like a foghorn, describing the contest and its purpose.
Oh, no.
Both teams, as he announced,
50p to stop. I had enough of this last year.
We got 50p to stop.
Right, carry on. Counter carry on.
Right, that's 2 quid. One there, one there.
And no Cybermen parts for it.
Who else was going to put pound in?
both teams, as he announced them, were greeted with hearty cheers. Then comparative silence settled on the crowd as Kit and Doge mounted their horses and cantered to the starting post. Kit's mare was smaller than Doge's grey stallion, and Nobu frowned as he heard the fat man increase the odds on Tibet to 3-1. A lean-faced man with long drooping moustaches, who appeared in Lobsang's chief lieutenant, dropped a white flag. The horses were off. 5 times round the circle of flags was the distance, but at the end of the 4th circuit, Doge was 10 lengths ahead of Kit, and the result was a foregone conclusion. The mare, loaned by Sharon, was used to carrying loads, not to racing. Nevertheless, Kit was able to rally her into making a final effort, and Doge won in the end by only 6 lengths, amid delighted applause. It was first blood to Tibet, and Sandy went torn and nervous as he accompanied Aku out into the arena to begin the pole vault. If he were beaten, the contest would be over. He tested the long bamboo pole for a moment, experienced panic. It seemed incredible that he should be standing there, in a lonely valley in Tibet, preparing to jump for his friend's freedom and his own. Suddenly he remembered his father and mother in Scotland and felt better.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
He was glad to be in Tibet.
Family important. They drew lots, and Aku had the first jump. He was Aku.
Oh, okay.
No, not Aku. That's the
Heard it the first
Simpsons,
time.
Right.
He was taller than Sandy, but not so compactly built. As he went over the bar at about 8 feet, he was grinning from ear to ear, and it became obvious at once that he was a practiced performer. Sandy took a deep breath, ran up determinedly, and also did the jump with inches to spare. The spectators uttered a sigh of content. This was going to be a real battle.
Dun. Right, 50 feet to stop, I've had enough.
If you remember that speaking.
Here, yes, we have the maths contest. I want you all to pay attention and keep count, because there will be a quiz afterwards. Right.
We will be asking questions.
Grandin now had an army of 223 men, more than enough to guard the doorways, through which the Sabbats attacked desperately all morning long. He succeeded in keeping them at bay. It was nearly midday before order reported to his commander. He did not arrive empty-handed, however, as his men staggered in under the weight of 4 sets of Sabbat feathers. They had found many new wonders in their explorations of the subterranean passageways: great dining halls, barracks for soldiers, kitchens with cooking utensils and fireplaces, treasure vaults filled with jewels and precious metals, armories with weapons, armor, and strange engines of war, bedrooms with grotesque but artistically constructed sleeping shelves and furniture, and a great throne room decorated in barbaric magnificence. Grandin was greatly interested, but he had business at hand that would brook no waiting. The structure in which the king and queen sabbats, the whole of the community, were quartered had but one entrance on the ground floor. There were, however, 4 runways connecting with the underground level which branched out at right angles, leading to other buildings in the community. His first problem, therefore, was to block those runways with his warriors, thus cutting off the sabbat rulers from those avenues of escape. One of the 4 runways led directly to the dormitory and storeroom building occupied by Grandin and his men. This is already blocked with armed guards. Another runway led to the sleeping quarters of the women and children, in connection with which there was another storeroom. The third led to the building in which the women sorted sabbat eggs. How many runways are left? 1. Well done. You can have a start. Connected with the building in which the men looked after the larger fantas. Leaving 50 men to guard the building which was in their possession, Grandin sallied forth at the head of his army. How many men does he have left?
173 minus the casualties from this morning.
With Oro the Mighty on his right and Galto on his left, he fought at the head of his men for more than an hour before the attacking sabbats gave way. These retreated to the central building, but Grandin was not ready to attack this. The women's quarters were captured in a relatively short time. Leaving a guard of 25 armoured men,
148?
they attacked the building in which the women worked. Here they met with desperate resistance, and when finally they broke into it, they found the sabbats had transported all the eggs and young fantas to the central building. After leaving 25 men to guard this building, they attacked the one in which the larger fantas were kept, but found it deserted. Another guard of 25 was posted at this point, and now, with all avenues of escape blocked, they were ready to lay siege to the main structure with
98 men.
After posting guards at the various points, the armoured numbered only 98 men. With these, he surrounded the structure and attempted to battle his way through the narrow doorway. This, he soon found, would be a well-nigh endless task. For 2 soldier sabbats could hold back a regiment here, and although they were cut down time and time again, others rushed in to take their place. If only we had a cannon of some sort, thought Grandin. Then he remembered the airship and the matorks. Leaving the Oro in charge of the besiegers with instructions to keep up the attack on the entrance, he took 12 men and made for the tree in which the craft was jammed. While 6 men stood guard at the foot of the tree, he and the other 6 removed their armour and climbed up the rough bark. They found the craft apparently undisturbed. With the aid of tools from which he took from one of the drawers in the cab, he removed the 3 matorks, and binding each to a man with a strip of sacking, he bade them convey them to the ground. He and the others followed with the ammunition, tools, searchlight, and whatever else looked useful.
D&D adventurous, isn't it?
After donning their armour, they returned to the attack. As his men were unskilled in the use of the matork, Grandin mounted only one weapon. Then he recalled his men from the doorway and began the bombardment, using explosive metal bullets. Only a few shots were required to enlarge the opening to the size of 12 doorways and at the same time clear the surrounding space of sabbats. Grandin knew that the quarters of the Queen and King sabbats were in the central chamber on the ground floor, and that 4 walls intervened between this chamber, which was reached by winding passageways, and an outer opening. Moving his matork closer, he shot down the 2nd, 3rd and 4th walls, while his warriors kept the sabbats back.
Discarded the sabbats.
Ah.
I'm going to fine you for that. Then he led a swift charge on the rulers of the white sabbats, followed by Oro and the men who carried the manacles.
Everything was lost.
It was here that he learned a peculiar characteristic of the King and Queen sabbats. For although the soldier and working sabbats retreated, the sabbat rulers showed no disposition to do so. They appeared to have a certain standard of royal dignity, which they punctiliously observed. They struggled desperately but unavailingly until the manacles were clamped in place. Then, the white sabbats became the slaves of men, for as soon as their rulers were made prisoners, all surrendered docilely. Placing a guard of 25 men, how many does that leave?
Depends on the casualties. They don't seem to have lost a chap yet.
Well, of course not, they're heroes.
Oh, I thought they were just minions.
They're heroic minions.
All right.
And they're fighting people who aren't human, so of
There's
course...
about 55 left then.
You could take...
25 men around the royal prisoners, the Earthmen ordered that the community life of the former masters of men be resumed. The phantoms and eggs were returned to their respective buildings, and the green creatures were conveyed to the Leaden pastures. But this time, the work was done entirely by Sabbats. Later, when the community of marsh people was organised, it was Grandin's plan that the Sabbats should fetch and carry for those who had once served them. Will someone please make me stop reading this?
50p to stop.
Full out of money. Oh, good lord. It's not Hook, is it?
Yes, it's
The
Hook.
boosted man.
Unless, of course, people want to pay for it not to be read at all.
I've run out of money.
Ah, paltry excuse.
We're starting right from the beginning.
No, it's truly awful. It's worth listening to.
Chapter 1. Ryder Hook jumped the last three treads of the mobile headway from outer space shuttle to concrete. He was on planet again. He owned dunnage filled with costly clothes and the trivia of the wealthy. His money belt bulged with metal, a delling snugged to his right wrist, and he meant to enjoy himself, or know the reason why. Not reading it right. A shocked, incoherent screaming ripped apart the warm afternoon air of Magon over the heads of the passengers in front of him. All abruptly stopped in their tracks. Hook saw a boil of men and women and aliens erupt from the customs house door. The passengers shrieked and began a frightening struggle to regain the pedway in the shuttle. Hook stared past them at the violent, fear-crazed mob dashing madly across the concrete towards the shuttle. These people had been made hideous. Fungoid growth dipped from their faces, and naked bodies where they had ripped the clothing away in agony, they oozed. They kept up a shrill, undulating screaming. Hook saw a man with one eye dangling on a long bloody white thread. As the man ran, so the other eye oozed from its socket to swing and sway about his knees. The man fell and was instantly trampled. 50p to stop.
Make it a pound just in case.
Another 50p just in case.
No one to the swinging eyes.
Right, could you use my hat instead? I need my helmet, please.
I don't know if we can get it all in your hat.
Well, I think we're finished because there's penalty for 4 minutes.
Is that it?